Hi everybody, how are y'all doing? Um, Hazel here. This is gonna be the first book review of a series that I am currently reading. I will also be having character examinations of certain characters throughout the book series. However, here we go to get into it. I just finished recently reading Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and oh my goodness, there was a lot of descriptionary words of certain characters, um, and the events and the places that were described, the people that were described. Just they all came together and made a beautiful story. And some of the main characters, Adeline Colin, Delanar Colin, you meet Gavilar Colin, who is the king of Kolinar, who was assassinated by a group of what is called in the book Parshindi. Now the Parshindi took credit for the murder, even though they didn't really commit it. You meet the assassin in white. You meet Yasna Colin. You meet Shalan Davar. You meet a whole list of characters. And some of the main ones that stand out are Delanar, Adeline. You've got Kaladin Stormblessed. You've got Shallan. And you've got Yasna. Okay. These characters are some of the main ones that stand out for multiple reasons. And several of them suffer from mental health issues. Now, how Brandon Sanderson wrote the mental health issues into the book series. I love how he went about portraying anxiety and the depression and the anger and just the overwhelming sense of confusion at times. Myself, I struggle from bipolar and manic depression and DID, dissociative identity disorder. And you see a lot of the characters, they suffer or they struggle with their inner demons, so to say. You meet Kaladin Stormblessed, who had everything going for him as a child, up until his brother Tien was conscripted into the army by their local city lord, which led Kaladin on a really, at times, tumultuous, just character building adventure. Then you meet Delanar Colin, who blames himself and has a form of survivor's guilt because he blames himself for his brother's death. The night of a feast, he had gotten drunk and fallen asleep, and his brother had been murdered by the white assassin, or the assassin in white. Throughout the first book, The Way of Kings, you kind of see how the characters have their platforms built. Delanar's is kind of topsy-turvy. Kaladin's is just, it goes from one extreme to the next, to the next, to the next. He struggles with suicidal thoughts. Many of us who struggle with mental health do struggle with suicidal thoughts. I myself struggle with them on a daily basis. Then you have Shalan Davar, who she struggles from anxiety in situations where she could excel. That anxiety comes and it manifests into what is later on considered a pattern. She is also nearly murdered by by a imposter Arden named Kibasul. And then you meet Yasna Colon, a bright young woman who is a scholar, and very, very, when I say bright, she's just bright. You meet Adeline Colon, who is the son of Delavar, or Delanar, and he struggles with his anger and his anxieties over what is going on with his father, because his father's having visions and he doesn't know how to understand him, whereas his younger brother Renarin Colin is just more meek and more silent on everything. You come to a what they would call now, like a military style, military base, but in the book it's called a war camp. At the Kaladin, you come to Sadius's war camp, and how it's described as this disorderly, the soldiers and everything disrespect a group called the Bridgemen. Now, your Bridgemen are supposed to carry the bridges on bridge runs. They do other duties like going into the chasms and searching for, pretty much grave robbing the dead of any valuables and equipment that can be used. And Kaladin comes in, and he's placed in Bridge 4. Now, if you know anything about being a servant or anything, or have had people in the past in your family history that have been slaves or anything, you know that it is unfathomable how slaves go in and day out and complete their chore or their duties, knowing that at any moment they could be killed. But with the Bridgemen, it's even more detrimental, because they're the ones that put their lives on the front line of the armies to run out in front of the Persindi, where they're being fired on with arrows, and you lose people constantly, which means each bridge crew has to get new recruits just to be able to run their bridges. You meet in Bridge 4, you meet certain characters that at first are kind of standoffish, but then you get to really know and go back into their backgrounds and see what's going on. Later on, there is a major disaster, and Kaladin blames himself for it because he took in his bridge's safety, but he miscalculated, and just a whole stream of events happened from there. Shalindavar and Yasna, Shalindavar goes on to be Yasna's ward, or I should say understudy, and starts studying under her, and then steals what they call a soul caster. Well, later on, it comes to light that her and Yasna can both soul cast without her soul caster. Now, a soul caster is a Fabril that has multiple different jewels like amethyst, topaz, sapphire, ruby, diamond, emerald. All of those. Pretty much your birthstone colors. And they offer different elements. Overall, my review of The Way of Kings was just, I love how the story smoothly transitioned into all these different characters' storylines. I love how they incorporated different things. Especially with the mental health aspect. I really loved how that just came together. And it concluded. I am currently reading the second book of the series. I will have that review up as soon as I finish the book. If you haven't guessed, all of the books are freaking thick, so it's going to take me a little bit of while to upgrade this and get it up on YouTube. But for this, I hope you all enjoyed my review, and yes, I do highly recommend, if you love anything regarding swordplay or sword fighting or wars or, anything like that, read Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archives, starting with The Way of Kings. It is the first book in the series. The book might be thick, but it is a read like no other. It will fulfill your ever-loving swordplay fantasies.